am here today with Dr. Charles Puza. He's a New York City, Harvard and Duke University educated dermatologist, but many of you may know him as a content creator with over 2.4 million followers across social media platforms. So we're here today at his New York City practice, MoMA Derm, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about some fun facts when it comes to sunscreens, the sun, what to do, what not to do, and some misconceptions. Hi, how are you, Dr. Charles?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. We are so excited to pick your brain and to hear a lot more about the sun.
Me too. Sun protection, sun care is one of my favorite topics to talk about.
We know that 90% of skin aging comes from the sun. But what not everybody may know is only about 11% of Americans are wearing sunscreens daily.
It is shocking, and it's one of the most effective, not only just skin cancer prevention tools that we have, but just anti-aging and cosmetic tools at our disposal is sunscreen. And so the fact that only 11% of people are wearing this daily is just shocking.
And so what would you say are some of the most common misconceptions some of your patients have about wearing sunscreens and maybe even about the sun in general?
Well, how much time do you have? We could talk about this forever, whether it's on social media or in just daily practice seeing patients. There are just a ton of misinformation and misconceptions out there about sunscreen. So starting at the top, I think, is that only white people need sunscreen, which is just not true. The reality is that everyone, regardless of skin tone, can benefit from daily sunscreen use. Other common misconceptions I hear is that wearing sunscreen reduces your vitamin D levels, which just isn't true.
So tell me about that. Let's dig into that a little bit more. So how do you get your vitamin D levels if you're wearing sunscreen?
I mean, the reality is just a few minutes of kind of intermediate sun exposure is all that your body needs to convert the precursors of vitamin D into the active form of vitamin D. So daily sunscreen wear does not reduce your vitamin D levels.
Oh, fantastic. I get people still asking me that they use that as their biggest argument for walking out into the sun without a sunscreen.
It's not an excuse. You're here to hear.
Okay. What about I hear, especially within the last several years after that FDA study was published regarding certain sunscreen ingredients, I hear from people, oh, sunscreen can cause cancer. Is that true?
As far as we know, sunscreen does not cause cancer, and in fact, sunscreen is one of the most affordable things that you can do to reduce your risk of developing skin cancer. The controversy surrounding that study and that lab is still ongoing, and so from my perspective, from my professional standpoint, I recommend sunscreen for everyone. I put it on myself and my family.
And how young should you start wearing sunscreen?
According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, sunscreen is really approved for after the age of 6 months. Before that, you should really be using kind of photoprotective clothing and coverings for your children. And then after 6 months of age, going with a gentle mineral sunscreen is really best.
So dermatologists still are recommending mineral only, at least for younger children.
At least for younger kids. There are some safer formulations of chemical-based sun protection, but for those with sensitive skin or just children in general, mineral is always a good option.
That's great. And so tell me, what would you say the best sunscreen is to use?
I have a line that I use for my patients and my followers all the time. And obviously I am biased. I have my favorite sunscreens, but the best sunscreen is the one that you wear every single day. I don't care what the formulation is, as long as it's SPF 30 or greater, the best sunscreen is the one that is accessible and affordable and easy for you to use every single day.
Yeah, we at Image Skincare agree with that. It's why we developed six different sunscreens.
The daily prevention line.
Exactly. It's so important that you find something that works best for your skin type, your skin tone, and something that you feel like you can use every single day.
Absolutely. And harkening back to one of the things we talked about earlier is that sunscreen is for everyone regardless of skin tone. And so having tint and having versatile, no white cast sunscreens are so important today.
And how much sunscreen should you apply? This is, I think, the age-old question. Everybody wants to know the answer to this. How much should you apply?
Now, when you're out and about at the beach, you want to be using kind of an entire shot glass, 1.5 ounces, which feels like a ton of sunscreen for your exposed body. And remember, you need to apply every 2 hours.
Every 2 hours, even if it's water resistant.
Even if it's water resistant, yes, absolutely.
And you would say, so I've heard that even if you have an SPF 50 or an SPF 75, if you don't apply enough, you're getting the equivalent sometimes of like an SPF 4.
Yes, I am so happy that you brought this up, in that it's really important to apply the right amount of sunscreen, because sunscreen is a medicine. If you're not taking enough medicine, if you're not using enough medicine, you're not getting the adequate level of protection. And so some of the studies that I've seen, an SPF 30 is what we say is generally acceptable for kind of everyday use, but no one's using enough. And in reality, you take that sun's protection factor of 30 and turn it into a 3. So that's absolutely true.
Yeah, so dose matters.
Yes, dose matters. It's medicine.
Which is why texture matters. I think, sometimes we assume that doctors may think that texture is trivial, but if it gets your patient to use it every day, texture matters.
Texture matters. I, as a cosmetic dermatologist in New York City, I do a lot of procedures on my patients. Patients spend a lot of money to look good. Sunscreen is one of the most affordable things that you can spend to make sure that you're aging as well and as gracefully as you possibly can.
So I've had a lot of people question why I put a sunscreen on daily if I'm going to be indoors or if I'm sitting near a window. But I do know that even if you're indoors, you should still be wearing a sunscreen daily. Tell me why.
Yes, absolutely. One of my favorite questions to ask patients when they come in to see me for a skin check looking for signs of skin cancer is, what sunscreen are you wearing today? And the common answer I get is, I'm not outside. I don't need sunscreen. And the reality is that's just not true. These windows all around us, the overhead lights, they all affect our skin. When you're driving in the car, sitting on an airplane window, you might not burn because the UVB rays are blocked, but the UVA rays are still coming in. So it's still causing collagen degradation. It's still causing hyperpigmentation, which is why daily prevention, daily sunscreen is so critical.
Great. And I know in one of your Instagram posts, you had mentioned using sunscreen to help with rosacea and combat redness. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. As someone who has rosacea, who has background red tones that I'm always fighting against, we know the sun is inflammatory, and it's triggering and degrading the collagen in our skin, and it's just causing more inflammation. And so even if you're not someone who's prone to hyperpigmentation, melasma, dark spots, wearing sunscreen every single day protects from that rosacea trigger.
And are there any other sun or skin conditions where sunscreen might actually help with those skin conditions?
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest issues I see in my patients, and the real common concern. Let me start over.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the biggest concerns I see in my patients is dark spots, hyperpigmentation, fighting those kind of issues. And we know that visible lights from the overhead computers and the screens all around us, trigger those dark spots. And so by wearing a mineral SPF, a tinted SPF daily sunscreen, you kind of help to even your skin tone and protect from anti-aging.
And what would you say would be some of the common reasons why some of your patients aren't using a sunscreen?
Yeah, the reality is the US is behind in terms of sunscreen filters. We haven't had new filters in decades. And so one of the big concerns that I hear among my patients is not being able to find a sunscreen that's elegant, that feels like it's a moisturizer, that feels like it matches their skin tone and that blends in effortlessly, which is why having these options is so critical.
Yeah, and I would say, at least, from the US point of view, the one place where we really can innovate now, not necessarily with sunscreen filters like you said, but with some of those ingredients that can help you get better textures, more elegant, even if it's a mineral sunscreen, more elegant textures that are blendable into more skin tones, and also things like hydration and other anti-aging benefits that sunscreens didn't always offer.
I completely agree. Now we have elegant formulas that hydrate, that provide antioxidant protection, extra boost from the damage that the sun is causing to your skin, all of which kind of makes sunscreen more a self-care aspect today.
Now we're going to talk about the fun stuff. We're going to talk about product. We're going to talk about our new daily prevention line and why we developed this line. And I know you have a few that are your favorites.
I do.
So we developed this line so people could use sunscreen every single day. It doesn't matter what your skin tone, your skin type is, your lifestyle, or even your age. We wanted this to be a line for everybody. So no one has an excuse not to wear a sunscreen. And we actually developed this technology called exosome delivery technology, and what it does is it's a smart delivery encapsulation that delivers antioxidants to the areas of skin that need it most. We have 3 amazing antioxidants in there. We have vitamin C, we have ectoin, and then we have astaxanthin microalgae. And that is delivered to the parts of skin that really need it most. And then it decouples the sunscreens and keeps those on top of skin. And that's what I think is really important about this technology is sunscreens are meant to keep everything on top. So you need a delivery that can take the anti-aging ingredients a little bit further. So, and then we have these amazing textures. So no matter what your lifestyle is, we have a texture for you and an SPF for you. So we have anything from an SPF 30 all the way up to an SPF 75.
I love that.
So let's talk about your favorite at first. I think you have 3 that are your favorites.
Well, I have 3 that I absolutely love.
Really
I mean,
yep.
Yes, absolutely. I love this mist. So first of all, they have 6 different options because depending upon where you're doing in life, your sunscreen needs may change. Some days I'm out and about, I'm post-gym, I need to reapply my sunscreen because the clock has been ticking down and it's 2 hours have passed, and so I can do a little spray, the Protect and Mist. I also love like these 2 options, the sheer matte for when I'm kind of oily and just don't want to be super dewy that day. And then there's the other option, the pure mineral tinted, which I can use when I'm having like a bad rosacea day. I just need extra coverage for that background redness.
And I love our tinted sunscreens because there's no transfer. So it's not like you're wearing makeup. It's just enough to blend into your skin and really help with that redness reduction.
Absolutely. And that's a common concern I hear from some patients, that I don't want to wear a tinted mineral because it ends up on my clothes. But I'm wearing a white coat, you're wearing a white. We're both wearing tinted sunscreen today. And you can see it's not all over us.
Right. Exactly. And then we have, and these are amazing textures. Some of them are all minerals. Some of them are hybrid formulas. We also have my favorite is the SPF 75, and that's our smart blend. And it does have a little bit of a tint as well, but it's a little bit more shimmery. And this one was actually designed for post-procedure.
I use that one post-procedures. Yeah.
Have
I
you?
do a lot of laser resurfacing, and that I put sunscreen on my patients before they step outside. And this one is gentle. It blends easily on all skin tones.
Yeah, I love it so much also because, like you, I also have rosacea. And so it really helps reduce my redness. And we actually did clinical studies on all of these, which, what do you think as a doctor doing clinical studies?
I love it because
care?
honestly, we live in the wild, wild west of skincare, and a lot of people don't do clinical studies. So the fact that a company is able to put the R&D, the money behind their products is just incredible.
It was important for us because we want everybody to understand it's not just preventing the sun when you're walking outside, but it's giving you so much more. It helps me with my hydration, so that anti-aging hydration, as well as the sun protection at the same time. And like I said, I love the 75 SPF, but there are days when I don't need a 75. There are days when I'm also going to grab maybe the tinted 30 all mineral, or I might grab the matte even, because the matte is just a little bit lighter and it's an SPF 30. It's a hybrid formula. And then there are things, to be said about a simple formula that you can reapply with. So even if I've applied my 50 in the morning, I'm going outside, I've got my makeup on, I don't want to take my makeup off to reapply. This is fantastic for reapply.
That's I also do something similar. I usually put a top coat down of a cream formula, and then I'll reapply with a mist or a brush.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like a top coat. That's so easy to understand, is a top coat and then a reapplication. And I actually apply my 75 SPF with a brush in the morning, and it goes on so evenly. And then I also know that I'm getting enough on my skin.
I love that.
Yeah. Great. Any other tips you have for us, tips or tricks that you have for us when it comes to sunscreen?
As dermatologists, the reason we are so obsessed with sunscreen is because we see the complications of people who don't protect their skin every single day. We see the skin cancer, and we also see the cosmetic concerns, the aging, the dark spots, the bruised arms. So wearing sunscreen is the best thing you can do for your future self.
So Dr. Charles, tell me what SPF means.
So SPF, sun protection factor, we can think of that kind of just anecdotally, like for example, SPF 30, as increasing the time that you won't burn in the sun by a factor of 30. Now that might sound like a lot, but in reality, no one really uses enough sunscreen. An SPF 30, when we study it clinically, it actually is about a SPF 3. So lengthening the time that you would burn, instead of like 5 minutes, to be about 15 minutes, because no one wears enough sunscreen.
Thanks for joining us. Feel free to write your questions right in the chat or go to imageskincare.com. Or if you want to get in touch with Dr. Charles, how do they get in touch with you?
You can find me on social media at Dr. Charles MD.
Thanks.